Welcome to the Deal Calendar. I'm Kathleen Flynn from TechConfidential.
And I'm Suzanne Stevens from Corporate Dealmaker.
And this is our weekly look at events coming up that we think are going to have a big impact on deal making. And it's also our opportunity to talk with you about some of the top stories that we're covering in the deal newsroom.
Certainly one of those, Mary, is the fallout happening in the regional banking industry right now. We've got IndyMac has failed, and there's concern that a lot of other regional banks may follow suit. And we've also seen IndyMac and about a dozen other banks being investigated for possible mortgage fraud, and also Wachovia being investigated. It's auction rate securities business that investigation just underway. So a lot of fallout in the banking industry, and we'll be covering that in the weeks certainly ahead.
And another story that we're covering closely and in an ongoing way that is changing constantly every turn of the wheel is the Yahoo fate, the fate of Yahoo. And of course, I'm following that closely, but it's a tricky one because things are changing all the time. We've developed a nice tool at thedeal.com/newsweekly, which is a slideshow that can help you keep track of all the different board members. So Yahoo's board members, their pictures, their bios are all there, and it's the current board members as well as the slate that Carl Icahn wants to take over the company with, and that they'll be voting on that. They have their annual shareholder meeting on August 1. Of course, interesting development going on there is AOL and Microsoft seem to be in cahoots at the moment, perhaps trying to break up Yahoo. So covering that constantly, it's changing, ever changing, and we're on top of it.
The beauty of the web, right? I mean, that's why, we can keep up with it as it happens. So getting back to the week at hand on July 22nd, an important date there for Bentley Pharmaceuticals. Shareholders will be voting on the $360 million cash offer from Teva Pharmaceuticals. And Bentley board and management is behind the deal, and there's really no reason that we can find as to why that shareholders might not follow suit.
And then on the 23rd, the next day, there's an HSR deadline for the Allied Republic merger in the solid waste business. Now, of course, this is a business that you know very well and have a lot of insight into garbage.
Yes, I do. I do have a little insight into garbage. I took a short break from journalism in the late 1990s and worked in communications for Republic Services. And what's going on there, just to kind of recap, because it's a little confusing, you've got Republic Services, which is the second largest player in the industry, agreeing to merge with Allied, which is the third biggest player. After that agreement was made between those two, the industry leader Waste Management came in and made a bid to buy Republic. So all of this is out there happening, and we'll be following it as it goes along. But I guess a couple of points that I would make, having worked in the industry, is that it's really, really competitive, whether it's golf tournaments at industry trade shows, or bidding for local hauling contracts, or for targeting mom and pop operations. Because the second point I want to make is that the solid waste industry is really held up as the classic roll-up industry. Republic, Allied, Waste Management all built their heft in the U.S. by buying up hundreds of small independent haulers, really in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. So there are sophisticated deal teams working inside of these companies. And I would mention Craig Farley, who I spoke to recently, used to be the lead deal maker at Republic Industries in the late 90s when they were buying a lot of companies. And he told me that in one 9-month period, he and his corporate development team of about 12 to 15 people did 75 deals.
Wow.
So no surprise that we're seeing this kind of maneuvering at the top of the industry. It's really to be expected.
Interesting. So another deadline coming up, July 25th, is the EU deadline in the HP EDS acquisition. And of course, this is a huge deal. For HP, it will double, getting EDS will double HP's service business. And I was sort of intrigued to learn that originally this came about as EDS approaching HP, and they wanted to buy HP's service business, but quickly that turned around. Now, in the U.S., regulators seem to be looking on the deal favorably. The HSR deadline came and went.
And, HP obviously wants EDS's business because they want to position themselves a little better against the industry leader in business services, which is IBM. And it's a really lucrative business. So no surprise that HP is trying to find a way to increase its stake there.
Now, talking about the deal, we've got some things going on that we want to point out in the issue of the 21st. And one of those is the bankruptcy scorecard. This is a list of a chart about the top bankers and lawyers and advisors in bankruptcy. And we've turned it into a huge poster. And this was the idea of turning it into a big poster came from our copy editor and scoreboard editor, Barrett Irway. So kudos to Barrett for thinking of that.
Absolutely. And while the centerfold, the bankruptcy centerfold, will no doubt be the centerpiece of the issue, I'll mention as well that the cover story is legal trends in M&A. And with everything going on in banking and really elsewhere, that'll be an important read.
All right, so that's it for this week. Thanks for watching the Deal Calendar. I'm Mary Kathleen Flynn.
And I'm Suzanne Stevens. We'll see you next week.